Hello and welcome to Finextra TV. I'm Alex Lippic. You join us at Money 2020 here in Amsterdam, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Moshe Winegarten of Ecommpay. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thanks
Moshe.
for having me.
Pleasure. So if you could kindly bring us up to date, how would you say PSPs have evolved over the last few years, in your opinion?
I think it's interesting when you look back to kind of the journey we've been on with payments and money and how you pay. Like, back in the 60s, before you had card payments, there were banks and money was moving within it, and card payments came along. The need for processors and other services, eventually then the schemes and the payments, and then things begin to accelerate. Right, it's an acceleration curve coming into the noughties, the birth of e-commerce, and then all these banks and kind of card payments needed to access this digital world, and there you kind of really see the birth of what we call gateways, and there were some great players in that space, and they helped connect these, well, they were beginning to become legacy systems into the digital e-commerce world. So you kind of had layers building on layers on top of the banks, and eventually around 2010, so the end of the noughties, you see the emergence of full stack, next generation PSPs. So they bring all these layers vertically within the same stack, purpose-built processing platforms, gateways, and themselves acquirers, purpose-built for the internet, for digital commerce. And it's been a really, really interesting journey to that point. And I think it's very distinct, the kind of players have been purpose-built for digital commerce compared to maybe more traditional banks, and how they've had to evolve and with the times and the consumer behaviors.
Really, you've mentioned how interesting the journey's been. What about challenges? Have there been challenges along that way within that journey?
There have definitely been challenges. I'm not sure if I'd call them challenges, but I think evolution is driven by change.
Sure.
And change is natural. I don't know if you'd call that a challenge. Right? It's a good thing, I think. And if you think about it, the whole evolution to full stack providers was driven by the birth of the internet. Challenge, opportunity, call it what you will. But I think the last 10 years, since we've seen the emergence of full stack payment service providers, you've have a massive accelerated amount of change again. E-commerce has enabled businesses to sell globally, right, which has brought in the need to really take payments locally within each market, or be able to use the local payment methods within it. Fraud has got more sophisticated, and you've had new regulations come in to do with things like strong customer authentication, the need to manage that. You've had orchestration come in because merchants now, one full stack provider is not enough, or you need multiple in multiple markets, or you need fallback or resilience to be able to retry across them. There's been emergence of new ways of paying in the digital world. So open banking is a great example of that. Cutting out card payments, but allowing people to pay from their bank account directly, where traditionally in the physical world they use cash. That's now coming to the digital world. How do we service that properly? And I think also different types of commercial models. So consumers think about credit differently, and you've seen buy now, pay later emerge as an alternative to credit cards. Businesses are looking at different recurring revenue streams. So you've seen a big push into subscription type services. I'm sure you signed up to a few, right? As we all have.
Absolutely.
And all these things need to be managed and need to be automated and controlled, and challenges or opportunities, but they're things that we need to cope with and factor in for businesses.
Thank you for sharing the interesting insight there, and you've identified quite a lot of challenges, and of course that means we need solutions as well. So moving forwards, looking as best we can into the future, what do you think's next for PSPs?
So I think to predict the future, it helps to look back, right? So the emergence of full stack providers came from the need to bring all the layers together. You had processing and gateways sitting on top of the banks, and a full stack provider brought it together, and that brought immense benefits in terms of the ability to innovate and kind of across the platform, the ability to produce better data for merchants, because to remove data degradation, moving across multiple third parties, to improve authorization rates, being able to submit it into the bank. So there was recognized benefits in moving full stack. But all the things that I mentioned before, all those challenge or just the evolution and changes that have happened around payments have been met by new players that are now dedicated open banking providers, that are now dedicated orchestration players, subscription management providers, etc., all now coming in as new layers on top of what were the next gen providers. And so if you follow the pattern, from my perspective, the next evolution is a full stack which brings everything back within it. So it resets it back to 0, 0, 0, 0, and puts it all back within the stack. And so I think that's natural. I think we can begin to see it. I think there are PSPs who've bought orchestration providers, let's say, but they're still sitting outside the stack. And I think if you actually look at the benefits of bringing orchestration within the stack, within the stack, open banking within the PSP, subscription management, and all these things, they're benefits for the merchants in terms of economies of scale, cost optimization, reduction of points of failure and friction, and all these kind of things within it. I think there are certain business models that struggle to be standalone, so they've emerged to fill a gap because payment service providers, still 10 years behind. But can they actually survive on their own? I'm not sure that they can sustainably. But brought within a full service payment provider, I think that is the future to succeed for those new types of payment channels and services, and for the businesses themselves.
Yeah. It's really interesting to hear how many elements and different layers go into this, and interesting to hear your prediction as well. So we'll see how things develop moving forwards, but in the meantime, I'll let you get back to the busy event, and thank you very much for giving up your time, Moshe. We do appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
Thank you.